How are you, dude?
Really good. How are you?
Doing good. Look at that hair. You're growing that stuff out, man.
Yeah, man. Well, it's legal to get a haircut now. Like lockdown in England is loosening up, but you can't get an appointment.
Oh, wow.
that's what that's how booked they are. But next week I'll be cutting back this situation a little bit.
Dude, that's amazing. No, I don't think I've ever seen it that long. It looks good, though. You can rock it. That's cool.
Thank you.
Right
Thank you.
on,
You
man.
too.
Thanks. Yeah, actually, mine was getting like super long. They started doing haircuts here in Nashville again recently, which is nice. And I got in there pretty quick, and she was like, let's leave it long. I think I cut like that much off. It was the longest it had been in a long time.
Wow. Amazing.
Well, dude, thanks for coming on the show. Matt, obviously Nada Surf, a band that no strangers to Nashville whatsoever. I think the last time I saw you was actually at the Mercy Lounge, and you guys were celebrating, I think it was at that time, the 15th anniversary of Let Go. And I feel like that was one of those shows where it was so cool because you guys played it front to back, and the crowd was just really. You guys played a long set. I remember it was a blisteringly long set, and the crowd was just going nuts the entire time. And I feel like, has Nashville always been a special city for Nada Surf, or is that like a newer thing?
I don't know. I think it's grown over the years. Yeah, it feels amazing. I love playing there. I mean, the first time it was probably the exit in for the first 5 times there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've always thought it was really special, but it's become more so to me now these last few times because I came down a couple of times to write songs with folks and had that great evening with you and with John Davis. That was just amazing.
Yeah.
Such a, I feel like I feel bonded to you over that.
Same, man. Very much so.
Had that great experience. Yeah, I just love it. I don't. My wife and I are gonna move back to the States in a few years, and we're not sure where we're going. And I don't know. I kind of wish that was on the short list. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
This moves on. She moved over for me, so the next one's on her. I'll go anywhere she wants to go. But I sure love it there.
Yeah. No, it'd be great. And referencing the song that you're talking about, We Were in the Wild and We Were Home, that was such a cool experience to work with you and John. Obviously, the song was amazing, but the history between you guys I thought was great. And one thing that I really took from it, especially these days, it seems like that song we did 3 years ago, I think it was, almost 3 years ago. And I loved at that show at the Mercy Lounge, you said something on stage along the lines of you want to just have conversations with people, even if you politically disagree with them. And I feel like it's crazy. That's almost a controversial thing to say, which is weird because it seems like nobody ever wants to have a conversation anymore. And so I loved the fact that John took that from what you said on stage and came up with that song to where it was the idea of let's just find common ground and get together. And I think that's such a beautiful sentiment behind the song. I remember thinking that whenever you played it.
Yeah, man. I do think about that a lot. And I thought about it especially because my father, he passed away last year, but he told me about a friend of his from college who ended up having a confrontation sort of study center, and he would invite people from opposite sides of a conflict, whether it's Israel and Palestine or Northern Ireland, and he would bring sort of opposite sides together and just put out like soft drinks and cookies and encourage them to talk about movies or just childhood stuff, anything.
Yeah.
And found that I know where this is going, and it's so obvious. It's just I wish it would happen more often. It's like invariably the two sides came away kind of thinking a bit more humanely about the other side,
Yeah.
And it's not that I feel like it's not that bad ideas are okay, and it's not that people who are treating people badly or who are prejudiced are okay. It's not that. It's just that, you feel so dumb even saying it. We just are all human, and also but for the grace of whatever, were you born or was I born in possibly a kind of open-minded family, and if you weren't, or if I wasn't, we found our way.
Yeah.
To, especially music really helps, because
Absolutely.
that's it bypasses so much judgment that we end up finding our common ground so quickly, So anyway, well, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm thrilled that John sort of took that and ran with it. And he's just such a stand-up dude.
Yeah, he really is.
And yeah, man. I had this fantasy a while ago. I don't think I'll ever do it. I don't know if I'll get around to it, but it was like of setting up a kind of white square, like made of wood, and setting up in Grand Central Station and having it be this like civility window. You know how like in Peanuts,
Yeah.
Lucy had her like the psychiatrist is in,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and so like a framework like that, and just find people from opposite sides of things to like stand on either side of this window and talk about anything but the shit they disagree about.
Yeah.
Talk about other things and
Absolutely, man.
soften up a little bit. Just
Yeah.
soften up.
Soften up. I like that. I think that should be the term for 2021. Soften up a little bit on all sides of the
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Matt, High Low turns 25 years this year, which is crazy to think. Like 25 years, that's a long time for that record. It doesn't feel that long to me, at least. I imagine for you, it probably doesn't either. But June 18th, I believe, is the official date of 25 years.
Wow.
It was produced by Rick OKeefe of the Cars. I've always wanted to ask you, what was it like to work with Rick OKeefe, especially at that time, because he was still, I mean, that was pretty fresh out of the Cars and probably a lot younger and wilder than he was in his later years.
Yeah. He was a little wild. He kept his wildness pretty discreet, though. He kind of disappear now and again. He was a really lovely guy and very much a kind of father figure. Really took me under his wing and had me over to his house to just talk and hang out and kind of get comfortable, and gave me a couple of books, and just lovely. And I wrote about this a couple of times, so I don't know if you've read the story, but one of my favorite things that he did is that I think he understood that I was kind of nervous.
Yeah.
We were a little older when we were signed, so I was like 28 when we made that record, but whatever, we're only as old as we feel, right? And
Yeah.
I guess I felt really young, so I was very nervous.
Yeah.
And so after every song, when we would pick a take, he'd say, "All right, I want you to go out there and just sing a scratch vocal." I knew what that was. You go out and just sing it. For anybody who doesn't know, a scratch vocal is like a guide. It's not the real one.
Yeah.
You just put up any old microphone and just throw it down, sing it once. And he'd always say, "Yeah, all right, just do that one more time." So I'd do it one more time. And then we spent a week doing all the guitars. And then nervously, I'm like, so Rick, is it time to sing the songs now? And he's like, "You're done.
Oh, wow.
Like, we're not doing it. We're just using those scratch vocals." And that was it. And I think, and it's not to say that they were all that good. The point is, he knew that it would probably get worse or less natural, at least.
Yeah.
If I started to worry and get that red light fever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was such a, protecting me from myself.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
No, it's kind of cool. There's something about whenever the tape starts rolling. I feel like as a drummer, sometimes I will be throwing down like crazy, but at the moment I know I'm recording, it's like you kind of freeze up a little bit. Maybe you're more safe than you normally would be. So it's actually really genius that he did that.
Yeah. And man, doesn't that apply to everything? It really does. And like, I'm always, I'm very impressed. But I'm impressed by everybody in the world, every profession, but especially like stand-up comedians and actors. To be that natural in front of a camera.
Yeah,
not easy.
Absolutely.
I think of this. I've never done it. I never will. But I love this Dennis Hopper quote. He said about acting. He's like, "If you're smoking a cigarette in a movie, just smoke the cigarette."
Yeah.
Don't act like you're smoking a cigarette. Just smoke the cigarette.
Yeah.
Like sing the song.
That's
Don't worry
so true.
about the microphone.
Yeah. And I guess, speaking of acting, I guess in a way, music videos are kind of like a form of acting, I should say. And, Popular, 25 years ago when it came out, Popular comes out, extremely successful with MTV, the video. I remember when it came out, I think I was around like 13. So of course MTV was like my world at that time. And, were you surprised that song was picked as the single with the sense that it was more of a talking song? I remember thinking that was always that talking song. Was it surprising to you?
Well, by then it wasn't, but it was surprising to me that the song became what it was. And I don't mean when it was released, I mean in the studio. And the quick story is that this producer called Bryce Goggin, he helped us make. He didn't produce High Low, but we'd made High Low once before with a different drummer, Aaron Conti, who's awesome.
Yeah.
Before Ira joined the band, and Bryce had helped us with that. And my idea for that song was that I would be, making up this stuff and reading out of this book and all about etiquette and stuff and dating on one channel, and a friend of mine, Catherine, I was going to ask her to do it on the other channel. So we had 2 tracks, and they didn't match at all. She's just making stuff up, I'm just making stuff up, and they would both be kind of buried and be right and left. And it like, there's a Velvet Underground song called Temptation Inside of Your Heart that has all this talking, and then there's a Pavement song called Mouth of a Desert, something like that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talking in that, and I love those 2 things, and I just love this idea of this kind of like, it was really arty, like a really, really random, and then just come in with this pop chorus and go back to this mess. So Bryce is going to mix the song, and he's like, all right, well, just give me 10 minutes to get the tracks going, and come back in and let's talk about it. So I go in and I have a coffee or whatever. I'm in the lounge for a second, and then he's like, "Oh, come back in here." I come back in, and he's like, "All right, so you wanted me to have both of these up?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, well, listen to this." And he turns Catherine's vocal off. He puts mine in the middle and turns it up, and I'm like, "Oh, no, you don't, not loud like that." He holds his finger on the fader, and he looks up at me. He's like, "You hear that?" I was like, it's making me very uncomfortable, you know? I'm like, yeah, I do. I hear that. He's like, that's a pop song.
Yeah.
No way.
That's amazing.
And through my discomfort, I was like, you are right. That is a pop song. I had no idea. So anyway, he kind of like, he definitely gets the assist on that one.
Yeah. That's amazing. He saw something for sure. That's incredible.
Yeah.
But so the video comes out, obviously blows up on MTV, and I guess I would say that definitely changed things for you guys really quickly. And I mean, at that time, what was that like touring on that? Because I feel like at that time, if you had a video on MTV like that, it was, your band was huge. So many people watching MTV. How was it touring that summer on that high?
Well, it was cool. It was weird. It was weirdest at first when we did shows when the video was really big, but our record wasn't out.
Yeah.
So there were 2 months like that, and those 2 months were weird because a lot of people were showing up to the shows who didn't know us at all, and because a lot of basically all the rest of our songs did not sound like that.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't realize this until recently when I watched some footage from a Knoxville show that's online. I didn't realize we were so fast.
Yeah.
All our songs were like faster than they are in High Low. We were like really speedy. And I think it was probably not kind of what a lot of people were coming for. And but then when the record came out, it kind of evened out a little bit because more people were coming who kind of like dug the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. And speaking of John Davis, Superdrag and Nada Surf went out on a co-headlining whole summer tour.
Yeah.
When they had Sucked Out and we had Popular, and that it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was really a lot of fun, and the audiences were kind of nuts. You know, and plus it's like the 90s, so there was still like there was a lot of crowd surfing and just that kind of like boiling point kind of in a good way.
Yeah.
It was really fun. Yeah, totally nuts.
That's awesome. Were the Superdrag dudes as hard of partiers as I've heard? Because like I've had John on the show so many times, and he'll never really answer that question honestly. But I feel like the stories I've heard about John Davis in like the era of like '96 to like '99 was just totally insane. Was he pretty wild back then?
It's of a time and of an age, not of an age because we were all younger. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, however, I must support him in whatever reticence he's showing.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
In not illustrating an answer to that question, I will stand next to him and say the same thing. Like, I don't know. I don't know what he said. What did he say?
No, he always. I remember one time he just said, "I'll just say it was nuts." He just said that. I'll just say it
All
was
right.
nuts.
All right. I confirm. I can
Yeah, yeah.
confirm.
I love
Corroborate
it.
that
What's your
statement.
what's your thoughts on MTV nowadays? Because there was a thing, it was a viral tweet recently where somebody was talking about how MTV, if they would still do anything with music, really, it could still be relevant. It was some actor who was making a statement, and then someone posted the MTV schedule, and I guess all they do is show this show Ridiculousness, which shows like YouTube clips. They show it, I guess, on Saturdays. It airs 24 hours a day, and that was the entire day. What's your thought on the way that MTV has kind of become not irrelevant, but just totally different than it was once back in the day?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I haven't seen it in a long time. I've been living here in England for 10 years. So, and even before that, I didn't watch it for a while. I don't know. I mean, we have YouTube now, so everyone has their own MTV. But it was nice to kind of all meet up, and I think that's true of all media at this point. We're so spread out that our common experience is kind of gone a little bit. So I would say there's one big pro and one big con of the way things are now. The big pro is that we can all follow our fancy all over, and also more artists are able to have a little audience and do something. Just because the people who are big aren't as big,
Yeah.
there are far more people are getting to have an experience of an exchange with with fans, or people who are listening to their record or reading their book or watching their movie or whatever it is, and that's great. But what maybe isn't so great is that, and this maybe goes back a little bit to what we're saying before about, people getting along or people on opposite sides of an issue or something, is that the experience of having like half your town be watching the CBS Sunday night movie
Yeah.
or whatever it is gone, or is more gone at this point. And I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking about. I've never thought about it before, but maybe just that thing of having fewer things that we all experience together is a little bit less glue
Yeah.
between us.
Absolutely. Well, it's like when you drive by someone in their car. I feel like back in the day, you'd see someone in their car and you could assume maybe they were listening to the same radio station you were. But now it's like when you see someone in their car, they could be listening to any song, any podcast. Like, you're right. It's like this, your own little experience, which it's like
Yeah.
the smartphones brought us together, but kind of pulled us apart at the same time, which is kind of a strange thought.
Totally. Yeah, man. There are a lot of weird contradictions like that. For
Yeah.
sure. I wonder, it must happen a lot more often, for you to pull up at a red light in summer with the windows down and just have both be playing the same station and it feeling good.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this way it used to be. I love this.
Yeah. My parents didn't listen to like pop radio, but I have really wonderful memories. My mom is from North Carolina, from Wilmington, and so I spent all my summers visiting there when I was really young, and I still have such strong memories of hearing like classic rock coming out of like the Trans Am in the next lane over at a red light,
Yeah.
and or soft rock or like yacht rock, like all those like incredible,
Yeah.
everything from Summer Breeze to Magic Man to all those
Absolutely.
great sounds, and it was always coming from somewhere else, and it still feels very romantic. You can almost feel that summer humidity,
Yeah, totally. It is so true.
that heavy air that's like, I love something about that heavy air that's like almost hugging you.
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah.
With the music gently playing in the background. I love that.
Yeah,
I always
amazing.
heard a story, Matt. I'm not sure if this is true, but I've heard a story that post high-low, whenever you guys put out the proximity effect, and then after that time period, I always heard a story that you went and worked in a record store, and that you would actually be working at the record store, and people would sometimes come in and sell back copies of High-Low. And you actually did that ever actually really happen? I don't know where I heard that.
I can't imagine that happened more than once, and only because I don't have a clear memory of it. But I did work in a record store, and I did almost forget sometimes, in a way. I didn't forget I'm in a band, but you know what I mean? Like if someone would ask me what I did or something, and then it'd be like, oh, I like you guys, or I love you guys, or something. during that period, it'd be like, oh wow, right, I kind of forgot about that, because we were just taking a long time at home and waiting to get the rights for our second record back and kind of working on Let Go at the same time. But yeah, it must have happened. Otherwise, it must have happened. Yeah, someone must have sold High Low. But I mean, I did see it for sale a lot in cutout bins and stuff.
Yeah, that's
you'd see it used, and
yeah,
and that's cool. You can't take anything personally. Like, man,
you sold that. But then you guys kind of went away for a couple years, and I recall, I don't remember, I think it was 2003, I was watching like a late night TV show, and all of a sudden, I don't know if it was Letterman or Conan, but it was somebody, and they were like, ladies and gentlemen, Nada Surf, and you came out and played Inside of Love, and I'll never forget watching that, and just being like, man, I have not seen Nada Surf in a minute, and these guys are back, and it seems like at that time you signed to Barsuk, and then you put out that song. And you guys had this entire second career just magically come back. Like, look at these guys. And you putting out record after record. You developed this cult following. How was that at that time, bouncing back with Inside of Love like that? Because it really, to me, that was the big comeback, it seemed like.
Yeah, man, it was great. And not just because of like kind of coming back, but it was great because we felt really at home for the first time. I know it's probably a little bit boring for people who aren't in bands, maybe, to like hear people talk about the music business, and it's not that interesting. But we knew that the kind of music that we make, for it to be on a major label like Elektra at the time, was an anomaly, and it was just because it was this very short period where, like, whatever it's called, modern alternative, had become, because of Nirvana, etc., had become like really commercial for just this little moment, just a little window.
Yeah.
But we knew we didn't belong there. We knew we wouldn't last, and that's never what we were shooting for. When we started making tapes and stuff, I sent them to all the indie labels I really liked, and maybe they never got it, or they never heard it, or didn't like it. Whatever it was, it just didn't work out. But that's always what I'd wanted. And even when we were on MTV and stuff, I was like, man, this isn't going to last. And like, I don't know if it's really where we belong. And so I sort of felt like we were kind of on the wrong path. But then when we got to do it all over again and signed to Barsuk and stuff, and put out a record that, felt really like, High Low is exactly what we wanted it to be. So I don't even know. I didn't mean to head down that road accidentally. So we always had creative control, but just to feel like we were in the right place, it was like having the career we wanted, and we have now what we always wanted. So it was like a second shot. Yeah. And felt really, really natural this time, and really good. And
absolutely.
So I was thrilled and very grateful.
Yeah. And it definitely kind of seemed like, because I think I saw you guys in concert a few times around that era, whenever you guys would come to St. Louis, where I was living at the time. And I remember thinking it was cool because you guys pulled up in a van, and it was like you just started over completely. But it was like, the records were just every record that came out was just better than the last, which I always thought was great to see. I did see a funny comment about you guys whenever you did a song on, I can't remember, I think it was the OC. And you had that cover on the OC, which was a great cover. And I remember you guys put that out, and then it seemed like you had this new teen following kind of jump up. And I remember one time somebody shared something about you guys online, and someone commented, like some kid was like, whoa, this band is way older than I thought. And it was like, I guess they thought that the OC thing was like the first thing you guys had ever done. But it's always neat to see different years and different people like discovering bands like much later than the beginning process, But I remember thinking that was super funny. These guys have no idea this band's been around at this time for like 10 years.
No, that's hilarious. And I love that too. It's great, and it's like, it's not that rock and roll is ageless, but music is ageless.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
I love it. And sometimes like much older people show up at our shows, and much younger people, and it's so rad.
Yeah. No, I love that too. Crossing the generational gap. I love that.
Yeah, man.
You guys, you did a tour last, I guess it would have been 2019 at this point, because obviously no one really toured in 2020. But Lee Tasjan's a friend of mine, and he opened up for you guys, I guess, acoustic on some of the shows.
Yeah.
I love that guy, and it's funny because I've known him since he was in New York when he was in Semi Precious Weapons. We used to play some shows together, and when he moved to Nashville, this is how naive I was to the coolness of Lee Tasjan. He announced he was moving to Nashville, and I've been here for like 11 years, and I was like, oh, I'll show him around. I'll be the cool guy that can show my buddy around. Within like a month, he was like on the cover of these Nashvillian. He was just the coolest guy in town. But how do you know? Are you guys friends with Lee Tasjan? Or are you just a fan of his? How was the connection there?
Well, our manager Ben Weber heard of him before I did and was a really big fan. And when I came down to Nashville just a couple of times to write with people, he suggested I write with Herrin. And I looked him up and he was awesome. And then we got together and he was super awesome. And then we wrote a song I really love that'll get out one day. And I just became a super fan of his. And it's funny. And in calling into you, I was coming up the stairs here and I was like, I'll be talking to Andy. That's cool. I bet we'll talk about John. And I bet Herrin will come up just because if I didn't know that you knew him, but yeah. It's just if you were asking me like, who do you like in this town? Like a lot of people, but man, I think his songs are unreal. Just unreal. He's the sweetest guy and such a great singer and player and everything. But man, what a songwriter! So I love playing with him. So I hope we get to do more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always thought too that he has such a sense of always knowing what he wants to be, because when he left Semi Precious Weapons right before they went on to do all the Lady Gaga tours and stuff, and he one time told me, he was like, yeah man, I just want to do something different. And I remember thinking at the time he was in like tiny clubs and they're out doing that, and he always just had a vision for himself where it didn't matter. I thought that was the most rock and roll thing I think anyone could do at that point in time.
Right, and that is awesome. That is really, and that's also very healthy. Like, not looking at the lane next to you.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
In some movie. I can't remember one of these racing movies. One of these like, I don't know if it's like Chariots of Fire. I can't remember what it is, but like that somebody, their coach has to teach them to not turn because it's what cost them the race. Was like looking at the other guy.
Yeah,
just. Do your thing.
Yeah, keep your eyes on the road.
I mean, be inspired by other people, of course, but
yeah, it's such a true statement. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, man, one of the segments I do on my show, it's one of those things that I've been interviewed as a drummer and as a musician myself. I've interviewed a lot of bands, and one of the things that's really frowned upon, I've always noticed, is asking about lyrics. So I decided to do a segment where I just flat out do the carnal sin of just asking about lyrics. So one of my favorite Nada Surf songs is Blizzard of 77. And I love the lyric, and I've always wanted to ask you about it. The lyric, I know I have got a negative edge, that's why I sharpen all the others a lot. Explain that lyric to me if you could. I love that lyric.
I think it's well, I don't know why I'm saying I think. I know. It's about it's like a lot of people, I'm capable of being a little judgmental. I'm capable of being a little reactionary, maybe a little irritable, all those things. And I know I don't want to be any of those ways at all, and so I so much don't want to be any of those ways that I do put a lot of effort into sharpening the other things, like being tolerant or being patient, or not judging and not comparing and all that. Basically, like, I've got bad sides, and so I really work on the good sides because I want to talk over them.
Yeah.
I want the good stuff to be louder than the bad stuff.
No, I love it. That's what I always thought. So I love that. I was right about that.
Well,
that's
thanks,
awesome.
Man.
No, absolutely. Well, man, it's been an honor having you on the show, man. One last thing I always do with bands is I play a 5 random question game. Would you like to play? Okay. Right on, man. Let's do this. Question number 1, Matthew Caws on the Local Buzz. A couple nights ago, I was out, and I met a person who told me I was their favorite radio DJ. Never happens. I always get recognized, if ever, as a drummer. But he proceeded to introduce me to all of his friends as Angel Herrin, who's on the Buzz. So I should have, A, corrected him, or just 2, embraced my new name as Angel Herrin on the radio.
Well, I don't know if you have to embrace it like on the radio forever, but definitely embrace it in the moment while he's introducing you to his friends, because It's never worth correcting anybody.
Oh yeah,
You know.
it just makes more questions because I don't think anyone at the table knew who I was anyways. So it was just one more question they didn't need added.
And what a cool memory to have. That's great.
Yeah.
You know, you got one more name. You got a secret name now.
Yeah, there you go. I'm like a superhero.
Yeah, man.
Question number 2 with Matthew Caws on the Local Buzz. Have you seen this? The drummer passed away. His name was Britnell McPherson, and he had an open casket funeral. And his family decided instead of putting him in the casket, they posed him behind a drum set. So I wanted to ask you: is that a beautiful tribute or somewhat creepy?
I think that's a beautiful tribute. I think that's really moving. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I mean, I'm sure you could say it would look kind of animatronic or something, but I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I feel like
it's like those those New Orleans funerals.
Yeah.
They try to make it a party, and that's kind of not what they typically are, and this is like the same thing. All right, it's not what it typically is, but how cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's cool too, and I think I'm going to change my will, and it's going to say the same thing for me.
Yeah, that's right.
Question number 3 with Matt from Nada Surf on the Local Buzz. If there was one Nada Surf record, like let's say the world ends tomorrow, and a kid 100 years from now could discover one Nada Surf record that you feel like really encapsulates what you think the band is, what record would it be?
Oh, probably like Lucky, you know, because it's kind of like straddling the old stuff and the new stuff, and I think there's a little bit of, you know, now that I'm like more settled in my life and I'm in a really wonderful marriage and stuff, you know, I'm not quite writing about the same things anymore. You know, it's not like love, trouble, or trying to figure youth out, and so I'm sort of like finding maybe more universal themes or singing about, you know, kind of cheap armchair philosophy a little bit, and I feel like Lucky's maybe in the middle of those two. This is a very long answer. I'm very sorry.
No, I love it.
I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Lucky.
No, Lucky's a great record. I agree with that. I had on question number 4 with Matt from Nada Surf on the Local Buzz. I had Jared Beckley of America on the show a couple weeks back and had a lot of great things to say about you. And one of the cool things I thought was whenever America covered Always Love on one of their records. And I wanted to ask you, is there any band that you would just be floored to find out they covered a Nada Surf song?
It's like a million. I can't even... I mean, pretty much every band. I'm just like Stereolab. I mean, Teenage Fan Club, of course, that'd be nuts, because I feel like sometimes we're sort of roughly in the same direction, and if they thought any of our songs were good enough to play, I'd be be blushing, man. It'd be so great. Yeah, any. Now I'm like, I feel very, very inarticulate, because like I love so many bands, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and I'm sure like you do.
Yeah.
And it's like top tens are kind of like a little bit meaningless for me, because there's so many things up near that ceiling.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know that side project with Juliana Hatfield, called Minor Alps.
Yeah.
And the idea behind that name, in a way, is kind of like, you know, if you looked at a list of the 10 highest mountain peaks in the world, granted they're incredibly high, but let's say you got on the 50th highest mountain, it would still be unbelievably cold and windy and high and mind-blowing. So even a minor Alp is a huge Alp, you know. Yeah. So I wish I'd come up with more band names for you, but man, there are too many. I can't even.
I totally get it. I feel like one of the questions I dread in life is when someone says, "What are your top 5 favorite bands?" Because I'm like you. It's like there's no way. There's no way. And the final question number 5 with Matthew Caws on the Local Buzz. So let's say all the madness of COVID is finally done, and you guys are back on tour. You walk out on stage to a sold-out show. You grab that microphone. What is the first thing you say to the crowd?
I'm just so happy.
I love it. There may be tears. I love it.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll be happily weeping.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so it's been an honor having you on the show, Matt. Obviously, Matt, I've been wanting to get you on for a while. I had Ira on one time. He sent me like a little audio thing, but to get you on the show was really amazing. And what's the rest of 2021 looking like for you guys? I know you have some shows that are postponed to like later in the year. Is it 2022?
There's some that are later in the year. Yeah. Like, late October, November, there's some U.S. shows which I really hope happen. The rest of our year is I've just started writing a bunch, so I'm trying to get another record together. And the guys, Daniel our bass player, he lives in Ibiza in Spain, and so we're going to try and get together there as soon as we all can. And he's got a little practice studio in his house, so we're going to spend some time there. Maybe do some live stream shows or something, but really get together to play, just to like get back at it and make some more music.
Absolutely. Well, dude, next time you're in Nashville, man, hit me up. I'm always here, and it was great to see you, man, and I hope the family and everything stays healthy and safe through these crazy times.
Thank you so much. I'll do that. I'll look you up, and thanks so much for having me on the show.
Dude, always, man. I will see you soon, dude.
All right. See you soon, man.
All right, see you.
Bye.